Guys, gals, and indeed non-binary pals, a cartoon bird with oversized comedy dentures here with rhyme signatures. The nerdiest music review this side of producing these gigantic pearly whites only when necessary for the joke in mind. And today we're going to be doing a review of the new Wrongbird album. Don't quote me on that.
We're playing God for fun, made me feel I was the one. Now all I gotta say is nothing ever goes my way.
One of the singular best things about this community is that in the, let's be honest, drought of worthwhile releases we've been trudging through in July and the early parts of August is that you can guarantee at least one of you fabulous people will point me towards something that I've missed. On most videos that I put out, I know a few of you will be recommending me something that I might enjoy based on how much I've been vibing the album being reviewed. And while I don't always get around to vocalising my thoughts about what you may have pointed me towards, I always appreciate it and always listen to a good recommendation. To that end, I owe the enigmatic green 77790 a debt of gratitude, as without their guidance and wisdom I would have never found this altogether rather lovely, engaging and moorish little gem of an album. Now, whether or not you consider this band, this album to be progressive rock or not is really besides the point here. I would argue that it is, much in the same way that bands like The Reign of Kindo or The Deer Hunter are, but it's got a greater emphasis on melodic excellence over off-kilter proggy passages. But however you want to spin it, Wrongbird have slapped me across the face with a warm, friendly, and ultimately extremely inviting bundle of notes, and I think anyone who appreciates the more indie rock side of the progressive spectrum is likely to have a wonderful time here.
Picking up steam, a regular sign of industry.
Hailing from Austin, Texas, Wrongbird are, in their own words, the world's premier and quite possibly only wrong rock band. Now, far be it from me to rain on their parade, but the band most certainly remind me of quite a few others out there. But maybe the nuances of what constitutes wrong rock are lost on little old limey me. Regardless of how original a concept the band's style may or may not be, Don't Quote Me on That is not their first foray into the world. For that we must turn the clock back to 2016 with their debut of Epitome of the Opposite, which I will be honest with you all, I haven't yet got around to listening to, but that's mostly because I'm still tightly ensnared in the iron grip of Don't Quote Me on That, which I can firmly and confidently call one of the most addictive albums of the year. In truth, not since Amscray's Die Happy that came out back in April have I found myself so instantly beguiled and entranced by a new record. Guys, what this may lack in individual expressionism and identity, it more than makes up with it with songs that are just too much gosh darn fun.
Lady, won't you come down and rescue me?
So yes, positives. Let's talk about my favourite stuff, and an easy target for this is Eric Baker's lead vocals. He is honestly utterly charming, feeling equal parts country singer, pop rock superstar and prog rock wizard. There's an engaging quirkiness and warming positivity to his voice that strikes you almost immediately in the opening track of Sun and Moon I Love You Too. And this never really goes away. There's plenty of room for expression and interplay with the music to his vocals. Tracks like Western Hero, Question Man and Jennifer Lady really showcase how good he is at carrying the driving force and melody of the songs. But of course, one man alone does not make a band, and he is accompanied by some stellar six-string work from Michael Blake, a thick low end from Dylan Hall, and some exceptional skin work from Tim Smith. And the band do a really great job of communicating with each other in a fashion that makes it all seem like an intimate and casual conversation with somebody you've known for years. And in fact, I think that's one of the things I like most about the music that Wrongbird are bringing to the table here. It all feels so delightfully familiar and approachable. There's not a lot here that's going to push you away from the music. If anything, the songs here are actively trying to reel you in. Like, pushing the door open to your local watering hole, where everybody knows your name. Or coming home to a family barbecue. There's this unshakable feeling of comfort and familiarity to the songs here. But we've still got room and space for some cheeky playfulness and creativity amongst the soft glow of indie rock. Sons of the Desert throws some bawdy and brash burlesque sounds into the mix, not feeling entirely dissimilar to elements of the Deer Hunters Act 4 at times. There's a swagger that's impossible to ignore, and it makes for a big highlight to the record that I keep coming back to. Parts of the song How High remind me weirdly of the softer side of Trophy Scars' Holy Vacants. You know, if it was run through a PG filter, evoking a sense of melancholic melodrama that I thoroughly enjoy. It's one of the shorter songs on the album, but nonetheless carries an enormous weight with how effectively the band conveys the emotive power in the music and vocals here. It feels like there is a sense of inescapable melody to the band, and it's where they really get to flex what they're capable of here. Just take 7th track Playing God for Fun, having one of the most powerful and memorable central running lines in the album, and ensures its status as one of the biggest earworms of the middle period of the year. Those cheeky little trumpets, the bass groove, the crooning vocals, and the 70s sounding keyboards, it's all rather lovely and impossible to ignore. The record ends on a high note with the longest track of Goliath, where the band builds and builds into a crescendo of fantastic keyboards, brass work, and impassioned vocal delivery. It's a great exercise in how to deliver a send-off to an album that's managed to keep a great level of consistency throughout almost its entire 42-minute long runtime.
Forest fires in your eyes, I am immovable.
So yeah, I did mention consistency throughout almost the entire runtime, and I will point a finger at a couple of things that, I don't know, didn't quite work for me. Question Man is first on my list of eyebrow raising. This is a primarily vocal-driven track, which I should love, but I find the sort of oompa, upsy, downsy, quickly picking up steam delivery a little annoying, if I'm being honest with myself. It's perfectly fine and manages to fit well in keeping with the rest of the album, but I don't know, something about it just isn't hitting my serotonin levels like the rest of the record does. I don't know, it's weird. It almost feels like there's a lack of... do I want to say individualism on this one? No, maybe not. Anyway, it feels like it's preferring to allow the majority of the song to be driven by the hit and miss off-kilter vocal melodies, resulting in a song that feels more like, I don't know, an interlude or an idea from another song extracted and stretched into its own thing. It's not one for me, but I'm willing to be the bad guy here, so if it's your favourite song on the album, that's cool. It just isn't one that I'll be returning to. I also sometimes wish that the band would commit a little bit harder to some of the more creative and expressive parts of their sound. For example, on the earlier discussed Sons of the Desert, I mentioned how it reminded me of the Deer Hunters Act 4. The only problem with that is that it just makes me think I should be listening to that record instead. It feels a little bit like a watered-down version of The Sermon in the Silt, never quite reaching the hedonistic highs that that particular slice of Casey Crescenzo's masterpiece of songwriting does. The record does also feel a little bit, front-loaded, with the majority of the big bangers taking place early on, leaving a back half that's missing a little bit of the oomph and energy that's so evident on the initial run of Western Hero through to Playing God for Fun. Now, far be it from me to dictate the running order of the tracks, but I feel like maybe slotting in Mr. April or Jennifer Lady a bit later in the album and bringing Glittering Vices and Small Fry a bit earlier might have done well for the overall pacing. But I digress, I'm really just picking holes at this point. The band have clearly got a lot of passion and creativity for what they're doing, and that's really evident from the opening bars to the closing measures. It's just there's a couple of rusty or less memorable moments here and there that hold this back from being a true masterpiece of the modern indie prog scene. But don't let that dissuade you, this is still an absolute riot of fun and one of the most listenable albums released in 2024. So, what else can I say about Wrongbirds? Don't quote me on that. I've been having a right hoot with this one despite what you might feel about the negatives I've just mentioned. It's like I've said, don't let that put you off. I'm honestly really just nitpicking at this stage, as ultimately I only tend to like to review albums that I think people will enjoy, or I want to expose the band to a wider audience, etc, etc. And I really do think that my particular demographic here, be you a metalhead, or a prog fan, or something in between, will find a lot to love on this release. My recommendation is to grab a digital copy of this one. May not be perfect, but when all is said and done, I am coming back to this one more often than pretty much anything else released in the last 6 weeks. So there's definitely something here with this. In fact, I'm thinking I kind of want to get it on vinyl because good lord, that's some premium album art they've got going on there. So yeah, they might be a Wrongbird in name, but musically they couldn't be more right for me, and I'd wager you'll get a right kick out of these quirky, creative, and thoroughly lovable musicians. This is all, of course, guys, just my opinion, so if you have listened to Don't Quote Me on that, please tell me what you loved or hated about this one. Please talk to me about your experiences with the album in the comments down below. Please do drop me a thumbs up if you liked the video, please do tell your friends about me, and please do drop me a subscription if you've been enjoying my irreverent content. But until next time, guys, as always, keep your rhyme signatures pretty odd.